Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode on YouTube, podcast, wherever you're listening to this or watching. The very first the very first episode of That Crystal Virgo. And yes, my accent will come out here and there, and I apologize, but sorry, not sorry, because that's how I talk. Now, we are talking spirit today. Yes, you may have listened to this podcast before. I had to change some things around, and I wanted to have the videos up with every single episode. I didn't want to start it on the next one, which I have the first one too. There's some stuff going on in the background, some technical difficulties, so I figured let's redo all of this and do it right. So today we are talking with spirit, and if you did listen to it, this episode is going to be different than the first one that I recorded, so maybe you'll listen again. So talking with spirit, I'm sure every single person listening to this is probably somewhat spiritual, which is why you're listening, and I'm sure that you've had your own personal experience with spirit as a child, whether you remember it or not. And this is something I truly know in my core. This is one of those higher knowings that I know for a fact that every single child has these experiences with spirit, and it's their environment that molds their perception to it, whether it comes out in anxiety or other kind of behavioral problems, and then later on we become ignorant to it, and I did too. For a long time I thought my spirituality was scary, and I didn't even want to touch it with a stick because everybody in my life told me that it was weird, it would summon a demon, that my family is very Catholic, so I didn't want to rattle anything over there. So for that reason, I find that I did push my spirituality to the back burner a lot. But as a child, I had one of the most profound experiences with spirit that I don't even remember, and my brother had almost the exact same experiences, and I really wanted to share this with you guys because sometimes it takes 2 seconds to ask your parent if maybe you said anything kind of weird, and maybe them bringing it up is gonna like spark a memory in you, because I don't remember this happening, but I know for a fact that it happened, and I know for a fact it happened with my brother. So let's share this cool story. When I was, not cool, but interesting story. When I was 3 years old, my grandfather unfortunately passed away with a heart attack, and on my father's side, so my paternal grandfather. And I wasn't told that he had passed away since I was so young. And when my parents had come back from the funeral, which I obviously did not attend, I randomly started comforting my dad and started telling him that grandpa was with us and that he didn't have to be sad, that he was in heaven taking care of God's cattle. And that's so weird. I have the incense blowing that way, and one tiny little blob of incense just like flew right in front of me and just gave me chills as I'm talking about my grandfather. He was telling me that he was taking care of God's cattle, that he was okay, and we didn't have to worry about him, that he was gonna be okay. And my dad, of course, was crying, and he was like super emotional, as his dad had just passed away. And this was something that was told to me as I grew up, probably at around like 5 or 6 years old. I started getting really into tarot. My great grandma would read my tarot cards to me every single time that I would see her. She really made sure that I was super connected, and she wanted me to know a bunch of stuff. So I was always really like spiritual in that sense, and I believed in guardian angels and all of that stuff. So when I was about 5 or 6 years old, my parents did tell me that I would talk to my grandpa, and I was like, yeah, I know. And then my brother, 10 years later, has almost the exact same experience as me. So my brother and I share the same dad, but not the same mom. So on his mother's family, he was with his aunt on his mom's side and with his grandpa on his mom's side. and they were at a beach house, and he was probably about like 2 years old, and she was helping him, giving him a bath and all of that, and he's like talking to himself in the bath, and she's like, oh, who are you talking to, right? Expect him to be like, oh, my imaginary friend, blah blah blah. And he says grandpa, and she just goes, oh, grandpa's in the living room, because her dad was sitting in the living room, right? And she knew that his other grandpa he never met, because he died at 10 years prior. And he goes, no, not that grandpa, the other grandpa, the one taking care of God's cattle. He somehow mentioned the farm again. He mentioned a farm or cattle again. I can't remember the exact thing. And she had heard my story, because she's one of those people that's super freaked out with these kinds of stories, but she loves to hear about them. So she had known about this. At this point, I was 13 or 14 years old, maybe a little bit, maybe like 12, 13 years old. Anyway, she lost it. Like, she literally left the bathroom. And then went out and said to her dad, you have to finish bathing him, because he's talking to a ghost and I'm not going to be in there. So it's absolutely amazing to see how kids are. Like, we literally had the exact same experience with our grandfather. And the craziest part is that neither of us knew that he actually was a farmer in real life. I knew he had a farm, and I knew I visited a farm often, but I didn't know he was a farmer and he took care of cows. You know, as a 3-year-old, you don't make the job connection and what they do. Like, I didn't know that he did that. I just thought that that's where he lived. And it was one of those things that as I grew up, I really connected with. And sorry, I started gagging because I get really emotional. And as I grew up, I was an only child, and all of my cousins had siblings. And I felt quite lonely for a lot of my childhood. And I think talking to spirit was almost like a way for me to cope with being like alone energetically in my household. There was no one else to match my vibe, so to speak. I had to like grow up really fast and be like adulty really fast. And I had to really kind of go into this box of being not really being much of a kid, I feel like, honestly, because I didn't have that other person to do it with. And it sucked, you know, but I find that it made me super spiritual very young. From the ages of probably like 5 until like 8 years old, probably. I knew I was a witch. Like, I've always known that I was a witch. Like, I would do spells. Like, if I'm probably not going to be listening, but I have some childhood friends that we would literally like sit down and try to levitate each other, and we would like have these Harry Potter spell books, and we would try to come up with our own spells off of these spells, and we would try to like run through walls, and we try to make things disappear and make things float with our minds. And we were super, super, super witchy, and all of that from such a young age. And around the age of 5, I started making potions because I wanted to make myself imaginary friends. And now that I know, my parents called them imaginary friends, but now I know that I was kind of asking for spirit to be with me. It was almost like I was doing my own ritual, inviting a spirit to come and hang out. And I know that might sound like a little like, oh, you summoned an evil spirit, but honestly, I was a child. I had pure heart, no bad intentions. Like, I truly don't think a child could summon an evil spirit. That's my knowing. I know a child couldn't do that. And I just remember I would summon someone to play with, someone to talk to, and little things like that. The potions, if anyone is wondering, I would mix things like shampoo and toothpaste, salt, pepper, like spices, and like literally anything I could find in the bathroom or the kitchen. I would like throw it in a bowl. And I remember once I started teaching my cousins this, and we do it at their house, they would literally, like, we would get in trouble by their parents all the time because we'd be caught, like, usually in the middle of the night making potions and laughing in the bathroom. So I guess doing it alone was probably easier because nobody knew I was actually doing it. Because I wasn't giggling by myself, obviously. I was very serious about this. Now, my connection with spirit was so strong at a young age that I also think it led me to have some pretty scary experiences too. There's a Ouija board story, but that's gonna be its whole own freaking episode because that one is a freaking scary story. Till this day, it makes me shake in my fucking boots. So that one I will share another time. And you know, one of the scary things that did happen, aside from the Ouija story that will be coming, I promise, is my neighbors decided it'd be funny to do the whole Bloody Mary thing with me. Now, they were probably like 12 years old, and I was like 7, or maybe they were like 11. But they were quite a bit older than me in the sense that for them it was a joke, and for me it was like dead fucking serious. So, as you can imagine, the spiritual tiny little girl that literally does magic in her spare time gets shoved into a bathroom with the lights off. These girls are literally on the other side of the door holding the door shut so I can't get out. And this is after we've done the Bloody Mary ritual, the 3 of us together in the bathroom. Sorry, I should have explained that better. So the 3 of us go into the bathroom, we do the whole Bloody Mary thing, we say it 3 times into the mirror, whatever. And as they shut the light off, or as I opened, they had me close my eyes because the lights were off already. And as they told me to open my eyes, they run outside of the door and hold it shut, like literally just like holding it shut. And I'm like in the bathroom and I look into the mirror. I'm literally getting goosebumps. And like, if you're watching the video, I'm sure you saw it in my face. Like I literally felt like anguish. I felt the most negative energy in my entire life. And I don't care if Bloody Mary isn't real. I felt such a negative energy in that moment, and that I lost sleep for months over that. Like my mom was pissed at these girls, like pissed. I still wanted to hang out with them and I still wanted to play with them, you know, because I was young and I wanted to hang out with these older girls, but I lost sleep over this. Like it literally threw my spiritualness through a whirlwind because I started being scared of energy and being scared of spirit, whereas before I was actually open to it and happy about it. So anyways, I know that was kind of a little bit of a shorter episode, but I really wanted to kind of open the waters with like a cool, more like a, not scary, but like more of like a spiritual story with a little bit of a scary ending. And don't worry, I am going to post that Ouija board episode soon. I just need to really sit down and write down what happened that night, because that is a kind of story that I really want to make sure I don't miss any details when I'm telling you guys, because it was a really freaky story. And maybe I'll see even if I can get one, maybe both of my friends that were there to be a part of it. Now that I'm thinking about that, I'm going to be asking Allie and Robbie to come on the podcast / maybe YouTube. We'll do a Zoom call and we'll all talk about that night, because it was fucking scary. And when you see that all 3 of us have the exact same story, the exact same experiences, exact same feelings, it's freaking scary. So we'll go through that. So I know that was a little bit of a shorter video, but I really hope you guys enjoyed, resonated in some way. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram at @thatcrystalvirgo. I would love to hear what you thought about the episode. If you resonated with it, please feel free to send me a DM. I always reply. I'm super interested to know what journey you're on and what your path is right now. I just really think all of us need to support each other right now. And as we enter the winter solstice on the 21st, we have really so much opportunity for so much great energy. So let's just really lift the collective energy together. Thank you for watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, or both. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and stay tuned because I'm going to be posting so much more content, so many more videos and podcasts coming your way. Thank you all so much and have a blessed rest of your day. Bye.